So let's do the discussions. And we have in the studio Member of Parliament for Whole West, Emmanuel Bajra. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
All right.
Good morning to you. Our viewers, Roland and Mamavi and the rest. I've not been here since the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So
you decided to go away.
Yeah, because I'm in opposition now.
Oh, well, that got to do with you contributing to national discourse?
Yeah, that's why I'm here today.
Well, we'll see how that goes. You were the chairman of the Governance Assurance Committee.
Yeah, the chairman of Governance Assurance and the ranking member.
Okay.
It's just a change of name.
Yeah, it's true. Opposition.
Yeah, exactly.
And one person who was once a member of that committee but now has moved to another committee but is still a member of the Health Committee is Dr. Kwabena Chum Nyama. He's a member of Parliament for Brekum East and he's here. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
There's a lot of speculation on social media. I don't know whether you tend to read a lot of threads on social media about you being posted or being, positioned to be one of those deputy ministers. But in order to save you all the salvos, please, let's not talk about it. Okay. We wish you all the best and we hope that...
good morning to your viewers and then good morning to you. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been a while. Like many, but your party is in power.
Yes, so. But in my case, I think you guys decided to give me a French leave. So
no, it's not true. What we call each time, you said. I think we like. I was saying they should call you last week, and they said you said you couldn't make it.
Yeah, I'm here today.
Yeah, and we're happy that you've made it. But let's speak appropriately to many of the issues because we want to zero in on health and many of the subjects as well. But we know there's been an ongoing issue about a blame game going on between the two political divide about who is causing the current dumsor power cuts we're still witnessing. And we want to posit it in a certain angle because we're told that it had been resolved somewhat before the John Mahama-led administration left office. But we seem to be still having some difficulty with that. We would want to watch or listen to John Jinapor. He was a former deputy power minister.
Certainly, the fact speaks for itself. We've increased generation capacity to more than 4,000 megawatts as against a peak demand of about 2,000. Even if you derate it and you take available and dependable capacity into consideration, our generation far outweighs our supply. So generation cannot be a problem. The other issue would have been finance. The institution of the energy sector levy, the reforms we undertook, and all the projects and programs that we implemented clearly indicates that we were on track to dealing with the problem. You do recall that last year...
You didn't deal with it fully, which is the argument that the power ministry currently is making, that the dumsor did not go after all.
The challenges in the power sector can never be over in any day because new problems keep coming and you keep solving them. The most important thing is that you ought to be proactive. How come that last year, the whole of last year, we were able to supply dependable, sustainable power, and this year we were unable to do that? If it was not solved, how can we be able to provide adequate supply of power? Even when the FPSO went off for close to 2 months, we did not shed load. And this is a fact. We bequeathed to the MPP a resilient, robust, strong energy sector with a very, very good foundation. Yes, we considered there was a debt, but we took steps to deal with the debt. We had a two-pronged approach, dealing with legacy debt and also taking steps to prevent further accumulation of the debt. And so there is no excuse, absolutely no excuse, for us to go back into dumsor.
I'll come back to the issue of the debt, but this current government has been in power for just 2 months. Obviously, they couldn't have done anything magical to ensure the lights stay on. All other things, because if you had really fixed the problem, as you create the impression that...
They did not have to do anything magical. They did not have to do anything. They just needed to follow the good programs, the roadmap that we had put in place. As I speak to you, the chief executive of the VRA has been fired. The chief executive of ECG has been fired. All they needed to do was to take their time, talk to these chief executives who have brought us this far, so that you can have a continuation. Governance is a continuum. And so I don't think that they needed to do anything extraordinary. We laid a solid foundation. We laid a good trajectory. The energy sector levy was working. We took steps to ensure that we reduce the losses. And all they needed to do was to follow those steps and take their time. It's as simple as that.
The argument is that even during your time, we still have the situation of the lights going out. So if it's continuing, then it's the mess in code that you created that wasn't fixed after all.
The people of Ghana will tell you that they didn't experience this level of dumsor and arrest. This pervasive, debilitating dumsor that we're experiencing, we did not experience that last
year. So your point is that it's worse today than it was under your regime?
Energy is such that once in a while you might have a challenge. But immediately you have that, you deal with that. But more importantly, you must come clear with the people of Ghana. Has this government considered that we are under dumsor? They are even refusing to conceive that we are under dumsor. When we have challenges, we're frank, we're honest, and we communicate to the people of Ghana. And so let them open up, let them be transparent with us, so that together we can solve this problem.
And perhaps also competent enough and fit to be in the mold of a deputy prime minister could be Dr. Kwabena Twum-Nyaama. And so I'll say, quickly respond. I'm not by any way saying that you are.
Is that John Jinapor, who used to be the deputy prime minister we were listening to? Wow. I'm seriously amazed at his discussion this morning, listening to him some few months back and what he's saying now. I'm sure the energy minister, when he went for the vet, and we all heard him clearly, he told the committee that dumsor hasn't ended. He told them that we are moving in phases. We will go through another phase of trying to level off before we can confidently say now everything is okay. So, in fact, we are not magicians. We all knew the challenges that we had. This huge debt that is hanging over the energy ministry because of some of the, very outrageous, expensive transactions we undertook due to the energy crisis. Nobody expects that we can solve this problem within a day. So I expected the former deputy prime minister to be the last person to be speaking like this because he has a lot of information. So I expected him to rather have been somebody who would rather explain the issues better, creating the impression that all was well, and he said they handed a robust, a well-grounded power sector to this government. My goodness. Is that what we got?
Okay, let me ask some critical questions. We have exceeded generating capacity, right? And if we have exceeded generating capacity, and your side of the political divide argued during the electioneering that it was a financial issue, but we had at least half year of the election year able to resolve the dumsor situation or the power cut situation, it means that we should have enough in the kitty to be able to resolve it with our finances.
The scenarios haven't changed. The problem is still a financial problem. And you can't solve a financial problem within a day. Mind you, the government that is in power is going to roll out its budget tomorrow. All that we've been using is budget estimates that was put up in November as a way of the transition. Every year in a transition period, the incoming government will have 3 months of just some estimates according to the Appropriation Act. And then they will bring out their real financial statement in March, so that from April, that is the second quarter, your program will start rolling out. So it's like we are using these ad hoc measures currently to try and keep the wheels of government running. So nobody should begrudge itself that within a twinkle of an eye, we can solve all these problems. So they'll be coming up. Financial challenges, you need resources, huge debt, you have to pay the debt. We all know the problem that has, occurred to the FPSO. We were told they are now coming up on stream. We are receiving power from Cote d'Ivoire. So, now and then we have these challenges. And the government has never shied away. We've never told Ghanaians that dumsor has ended. You were the ones who told us that the past president said he was going to fix it. So they were trying to tell us that they have fixed it. But hey, you can't run away from the truth. You can fix it temporarily because we are in an election year. But obviously, it will come back to haunt you. When we move to the health sector, other issues will come up similarly to this one.
Was I know because
you can't hide
some
behind a smoke screen. Obviously, reality will dawn on you. We are appealing to the good people of Ghana. Just give the new government a bit of patience. You know.
So this is deliberate. Just
if a child is born,
you're creating the darkness for people to know that there were the problems with the.
We are not creating it. It will come because the issues were not totally solved. So if it's hanging in, at a point they will cave in before the permanent solutions are, put in place. And I have no doubt in my mind that with the team that is in place, the minister supported by the government and the president himself, we will take care of this situation. The problem has transpired for more than 4 years. You can't solve it within a day. We are not magicians. We are human beings like any other person with the commitment to help better the loss of people of Ghana. And I believe Ghanaians will give us a bit of time. We will not take their patience for granted. We will do what we are supposed to do to make sure dumsor becomes a thing of the past.
Well, Roland, first of all, you mentioned
You're saying that it's a facade. All the things that you proclaimed that you had done for the energy sector.
First, you mentioned that, this on the lighter side, he's rather nominated, he's to be nominated for Deputy Minister of Health, not Power. So that's why he's trending.
Am I the only
That's why he's trending cautiously.
Am I the only stranger around?
He's a good guy. I've worked with him in the Governor Assurance Committee.
Okay.
One of the
He's a good material.
He's a good material. I think he'll help Ajimamenu at the Health Ministry. Roland, governance is continuing. There is nothing like we have to give, Ghanaians should wait, give us some time to be able to fix what? We're all in this country. Prior to the election, people were crying that we should stop the dumsor, and has found its expression in lexicon, in all dictionary. Now we have it, as the president mentioned in his State of the Nation address, that now dumsor has been mentioned in an international dictionary. So it means that dumsor was a thing that we will all talk about, and that was one of the issues that they raised, MPP raised. And John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, former president, came to Parliament in his State of the Nation address and said that he was going to fix it. Lo and behold, he fixed it.
Wow.
We all in this country know that generation capacity was our problem. We've increased it to 4,000 megawatts in this country. The truth must be told, and MPP must come out to tell Ghanaians the truth. What is the truth? The truth is that they say that all the transactions we've gone into are too expensive, and that when they come, they will cut it. They will look at our taxes, even all the taxes that we have with energy, they will bring it down. And that is the truth. Today, as they are in power now, they are asking Ghanaians to give them a bit of a time. Your business, if power goes off now and you are on generator, won't the price of the cost of your doing business will be high? It will be high. Why should we give them time? Why should Ghanaians be patient with them if they knew very well that in solving the energy crisis, we were able to purchase certain equipment or do certain transaction, and it was high, and you know of this very well, and you still went ahead to tell Ghanaians that when I come, I'll reduce energy levy taxes. I will make sure I'll go into all those transactions. That is why the former deputy minister says that as soon as they came, they have managed to ask the MD of some of the utility companies to set them aside because they want to review it. And now we are in darkness. I have been in darkness. In fact, the whole of yesterday, Medina was in darkness. When I went to my constituency over the weekend, we were in darkness. And I said, what is going on? Why have we voted for a change? Did we vote for a change to go back into dumsor? If that's what Ghanaians want, then we are all seeing it. That we have used our money to sell our color TV, and now we've bought black and white TV. And that's what Ghanaians are seeing, and Ghanaians are the best people to judge.
But at the end of the day, it also shows that the situation apparently hadn't been resolved.
Why has it not been resolved? It's been resolved. If it has not been resolved, we would have dumsor prior to the election. We have resolved it. What we are saying is that there is a problem, and the problem has to do with money, and as mentioned, and that they wanted to go into all the transactions, and that's what they are doing now. If you have decided to buy an FPSO, or you've decided to buy an equipment, and the equipment, your predecessor has purchased it, and now you have come and said, okay, I want to go into it. Therefore, all those of you who were there, set aside and let new people come who do not even know what is going on or what has gone on. What will happen? You have this kind of problem. And that is the problem we are facing now. So when I come, let me sack everybody who has worked with the previous government, forgetting that governance will continue.
And so we're told that the experts who perhaps were handling the situation well, prior to the exit of the John Mahama-led administration, are no more there. And so you don't have the right expertise to deal with the current situation.
Roland, you are a journalist. Which are these experts who have been asked from these state institutions? It's not true. If, let's say, the CEO of VRA goes on leave, is he the only person who runs VRA? Is he the only person with all the necessary expertise? So in case he dies tomorrow, VRA will not work. We should face it. Whenever there's a change in government, people obviously will move for others to come in. The Transition Act has even, concretized that arrangement. There are technical people in all these areas who continue to work. The problem is a financial problem, and financial problems are not solved in a day. When they were in power, they kept on denying that the energy problem was financial. They continue happening on increasing generating capacity. So no wonder the former deputy minister was still talking about increasing generating capacity to 4,000, But
so you're saying you can even increase the 10th
yes,
if you don't have
the
money
fuel
to buy the fuel
to run,
and the gas.
they will be there, they will be idling out. So that is the problem we are facing now. So we have to
So we don't have the money
very
to buy,
realistic.
or we just have to make
Of
sure.
course, when you go into these expensive transactions where the normal rate is about 9 cents and somebody is selling to you at 14 cents and you still decide that you want to buy, obviously you can't have money to purchase it all the time.
Do you think that those agreements with the IPPs, we need to review them?
You have Asogli, when there's no gas, the state doesn't pay anything. And then you go and contract Ameri. If there's no gas, you are still paying something. Obviously, my brother, you can't have it this way. So Ghanaians went through hell for the past 4 years. And they voted for a change because they didn't like what was going on. I believe the people of Ghana will give this new government a bit of a chance to solve the problem. Like I said, when the child is born, the child will have to sit, crawl, stand before he walks. There's always a process where the child will go through before he becomes the child that you are looking for. And I believe that the people of Ghana understand this clearly. And they know that in governance, there's always an honeymoon period that you allow the new government to find their feet before they will roll out the program that they have for them. That's why a government is giving 4 years. We don't give a government maybe 2 months, 3 months, because they know that you need some time. But there's always this honeymoon, 100 days. They know that that's where you are putting your government in place. You are trying to, understand. You can know a lot, but once you get in there, definitely there will be some information.
So it's now you're getting your food well grounded.
Definitely, and I believe in no time
makes a lot
Ghanaians
of
will begin
sense.
to see
I'm
what
surprised
we are doing.
because
I think per what he's saying and what the summation of the opinion is, you seem to be starting the campaigning too soon.
we haven't started any campaign. We are just telling them the truth that when they were in opposition, they decided to tell Ghanaians that if you vote for John Mahama, dumsor will return. That's what they said on their campaign platform. Today, John Mahama was not voted for. Nana Addo Dankwa-Akufo-Addo has been voted for, and the dumsor has returned. So we are just playing back what they've said on their campaign platform. Why is it that when you were coming, you have your plans? Does it mean they don't have any contingency plan? Haven't they known the real problem when they were campaigning? Were they lying to Ghanaians? What were they telling Ghanaians? What were their data that they gathered to say that, well, if John Mahama is voted for, dumsor will continue. And when we come, dumsor will stop. What were the parameters? What are the factors? Issues that they raised. Today, they are telling us that we should give them honeymoon. By the time we finish with their honeymoon, your fridge will collapse. All the food stuff in your fridge will destroy, will spoil, and therefore you have to start from square one. How can we continue giving people, 3-month honeymoon, 100 days honeymoon, for what? You have been voted to work. Nana Addo Dankwa, His Excellency said that he's in a hurry. That's why he has Festival of Ministers, over 47 ministers now, 46 ministers now. And they're all working. Are they not working? What honeymoon do they need again?
They need first 100 days, let them settle.
Settle?
Please find some tea let them settle. But talking about what's important, we have the subject of the flooding in Accra. And let's talk about it. Let's look at your own general observations of the perennial flooding. And now we're told that we need about $700 million to resolve it.
Yeah, yesterday the Committee on Works and Housing paid a courtesy call to the office of the new minister to find out from him his plans and to familiarize his activities at the ministry. Fortunately, I'm a member of that committee, Works and Housing Committee, and then this issue of 700 million came up for the drain in Accra will be solved. In fact, he had already gone around to visit some of the areas that have been flooded, and therefore we believe that he will do well. This flooding in Accra has been perennial. Every year we have this problem, and we need to look at it holistically. I always said that that's my field of work, and that
I was in your office the last week, your former office.
And that if we have really looked at it holistically and look for funding to solve it, we will not have this problem. It does not mean that naturally we will not have the occurrence, but at least we know that the artificial overflooding, which means people dumping foodstuff and rubbish on waterways, people building on waterways, and all these artificial issues of flooding will be solved. If we have taken a conscious effort, all our institutions are working, do not allow people to build on waterways. We distilled our gutters, our systems. We will not have this problem. Now we need to cover $700 million to be able to solve this problem. The deputy minister came out and said, well, I have come out from the ministry just recently, and therefore he doesn't think, because we have started some work. The Conte project has begun, and other projects are on. Let us not politicize this at all, because the life of people are being, people are dying.
But profession, you're a quantity surveyor, and by way you put together all the feasibilities, you make sure the structural issues are looked at, and you look at the state of planning in Accra, and you look at where we have the main drain, the Kole on the Odo. It's still the same as it was initially planned. It's not been expanded. Now, we're supposed, I think, ideally to have water collection points in the city.
Exactly.
We've encroached them and built big skyscrapers, and it's good. Of course, it makes the city look good. But it doesn't make us retain enough water when it rains.
Well, you see, the problem we have is planning. In other jurisdictions, in other countries, like where we have where people build even in water, in flood areas, we don't have flooding. It's all about planning. Just as you rightly said, if we have our institutions working, that water passes this in, well, how do we divert it? How do we organize the water? If it is building a skyscraper, make sure that the water passes what we call French drain. French drain, underground drain.
French.
Yeah, where water collects into a big pipe and then channels it into another tributary. We have different type of drain: primary drain, secondary drain, tertiary drains, and collects into something else. Now, if all these things are planned properly, I believe that we'll not have this problem. We have planning authorities, but they don't do their work well. And I'm happy when we were approving Professor Jan Bafo, who will now be the minister in charge of planning. I mentioned in passing that, look, if we can have town and county planning that has moved from different ministries, now under Minister of Environment and Science Technology, under his ministry as Ministry of Planning, then I think we'll go somewhere. And let us enforce the laws. If a politician a big man is building on waterway. Has he taken all the precautionary measures? If not, demolish the house. Let us have water.
The politicians are
Including
in Ghana.
Whether in Ghana or outside Ghana, wherever, if you are building on waterways against the laws, or you've taken precautionary measures, that means that they have given you authority to build it with the view that you will divert the water and make sure water have its own way under your building, creating assets for the water. If that is done, we will not have problem. If the person has not done it, demolish their house. So I'm happy that the minister of the current minister for Western Housing said that he will make sure that he enforces the law, that houses that are built on waterways will be demolished.
Now, we know that as a result of the flooding situations, we have health issues that also compound the difficulties of the aftermath of the floodings. But it's also because of the poor attitudes of us as a people. Sometimes I work with the drainage company that is doing the work too, and you find that, for example, they retrieve 5 bodies, okay, and they retrieve car tires, they retrieve car chassis. Whole car, the chassis of a car is dumped in the water. They wait on the blind side of everybody in the evening to dump into it because it's submerged in the water. Nobody sees it, assuming that it will run off when there are rains.
Well, Roland, it's a big problem. As for the attitude, I think we will continue to talk about it. But the problem is, I believe that nobody was born to be a saint or maybe to be a criminal or something. Okay. It's the environment. That is why we always enact laws and we are supposed to enforce the laws. When we went to school, we were taught about reward and punishment. When a child knows that when he does it, he'll be rewarded, he will continue doing it. If he knows that he does, he'll be punished, he will stop. But in this country, we make laws with all the energies, but implementing the laws become a big challenge. Almost all the things that we are talking about, I'm sure there are either laws or bylaws at the local authorities to guard against some of these things. The problem is how to enforce some of these laws. And we keep coming to these issues year in, year out, as though we are behaving like the proverbial vulture when it rains and we are soaked in water. We plan to build a house. The next morning when we are dried out, we forget about it. We go back to sleep. And then now the rains are coming back. And luckily for us, we are talking about this. And sometimes you, the media, you are supposed to be the fourth estate of the realm. You should keep in the issues on the burner for us to discuss. You also go back to sleep, just like all of us. And you come back to it when, the challenge is, imminent or it has hit us. I think we need to be up and doing. Why should we be grappling with this flooding issue every year? Sometimes it really casts a slur on all of us, our engineers, our planners, as though Ghanaians are people who cannot think to solve their own personal problems. It's a big challenge. We lost people. I think on the 3rd of June 2014 or 2015, it was a big problem. And 2 years down the line, now we are here. And I don't think we have really done much. I thought that could have spurred all of us on to do a lot to try and change the way we do our things as far as flooding is concerned. It is Accra, the capital city of Ghana. Look at what we are going through. So you were talking about the health implications. No wonder cholera, that used to be once in a while, epidemic, is now almost becoming an endemic condition in Accra, Ghana's capital city. Cholera is just a death disease.
If you're dirty,
if you are
you
dirty,
don't keep your
you get
surroundings.
Cholera. And of course, if you have flooding all over, contaminated water here and there, contaminating our foods that we eat, and you are not lucky you eat any contaminated food or water, you will get it. So I think let us all come together and, take politics out of this. And then we work very hard to change the fortunes of this as regards planning. I mean, what my colleague said about town and country planning is really a big issue. People build anyhow in this country. We build as though we have no plans. we build anywhere. You see,
we plan for the building, but we don't plan for where we want to build.
Where we want to build amenities, nothing. So once we are done, then people begin to look for. So where there's supposed to be a school, somebody puts a church there, nobody complains. So where it's supposed to sleep, somebody will go and put a church, and then he'll be disturbing the whole neighborhood throughout the night. If you want to complain, they will say you are a devil, so you can't complain. So people can't even sleep soundly in their homes. We have to change some of these, and it will take all of us to do it, because the one who enforces the law is also a Ghanaian. So if his attitude is just like the one dumping his whole chassis in a lagoon, then obviously you also think that enforcing this law will mean that, so let me not bother myself about it. And then we come back to the cycle every year. When are we going to change?
Okay, so right now for this, we'll do the desilting and all, but we need to be holistic about it. Yeah. The minister, Atachian, says that however we have to find the money, we need to. And we have to deal with it holistically to reduce drastically the effects of the floods. How do we go about it? And it doesn't delve into the realm of politics where you say you increase debt burden and all that. Because 700 million is close to $1 billion. I mean, we have to be realistic.
Yeah, Roland. Just as I mentioned at the beginning, that we don't need to politicize this. Lives have been lost over the years. People are dying as a result of this perennial flooding. If that's how much we need, it will by all means come to Parliament for Parliament to look at it. We have professionals there. Technical people will do the assessment. Technical assessment, they'll bring it to us. We'll also look at it before we approve any financial support for the ministry for this work to be done. If that is what will cost, relieve us, and that's how to prevent flooding, why not? I will go for it. There's no politics. There shouldn't be any politics about this at all. So he should go for it, and he should also. I think that he should also be prepared to walk his talk. If you want to demolish houses, you should demolish houses.
Okay, and there's something, of course, I haven't given to you. It's about the subject of health. You raised in Parliament about immunization. I wanted to touch base on.
Yes. Roland, this is also one of the challenges we face as a country.
Immunization?
Difficulties come, we don't really want to handle them holistically. Last year, there was a big challenge in the Ministry of Health budget. The goods and services budget was cut down drastically. I raised it on the floor during the debate. Unfortunately, nobody actually took it up seriously. At the budget hearing, we complained. Because of that problem, there is this arrangement where vaccines that are given to our kids are provided by this group, Gavi, Global Alliance Initiative. And the sister countries will have to make do with some counterpart funding arrangement before the vaccines are supplied. Ghana was unable to pay our part of the bargain last year because of lack of funds. We couldn't get the vaccines supplied. Currently, what we have is not enough. They are virtually rationing the vaccines. And my information is that if by April nothing happens, the whole country will run out of vaccine for our kids. And it will be a big challenge. That actually led to the shortages of weighing cards that I made mention of it yesterday. And most of my colleagues were surprised. It's like, unless we are hit by the issues, we don't even realize they exist. For the past 2 years, these issues have been coming gradually, and nothing has been done. And now we are getting to the brink where we will have none of the vaccines to give to our kids. And we have been able to eradicate certain diseases because of these vaccinations. Whooping cough, diphtheria, measles. Now people don't even talk about them anymore. When we were kids, they were very popular. But because of the success of this immunization program, we don't talk about them anymore. We stand the risk of having all these diseases coming back because these kids will not have the vaccinations on the scheduled dates. Because, mind you, the vaccinations are given at specific times so that they can work effectively in the kid. And once they work, you have this, what we call herd immunity. As you give it to a lot of them, all of them boost their immunity together. If you give it to one person, the other person doesn't take it. It's like you've given it to none of them. So I believe that we shouldn't wait till the problems come and then you, the media people, everybody will move in. What is going on? It's as though we woke up one day and then the issues came up. We have to be very pragmatic and be very serious about some of these things. So that is what I was raising on the floor. I'm not an alarmist, but if we are not
because
careful,
I wanted to ask you whether you were not sounding alarming, because as it is, but
well,
he's
Roland,
on the media's case today.
I'm
flooding
happy.
and
I'm happy.
immunization.
My brothers are in the seat now. It's a hot seat. They came out to say that, well, we're borrowing too much, and there's so much money in this country. When they come, they will not borrow at all, and they will also reduce some taxes and make sure that things that we need for this country will be provided. Today,
well, they said they will reduce taxes.
Yes, of course. Today, they are in a state. When we're borrowing money to do primary health care, to build cheap compounds, to build polyclinics, just to put health infrastructure in place, we're saying we're borrowing too much. You know, you remember even the president decided with his political appointees, decided that they were going to use 10% of their pay cut to build cheap compounds.
We're told that now we have 2.5 million of that in summation.
Yeah, so they can, and that is supposed to be used to build cheap compounds. That's the primary health care at the primary basis, where all this immunization things will be done from their pay cut. I wish they would tell me how much they will also be contributing to buy or to pay for the counterpart funding for some of these drugs. This is all about politics, and it's all about governance. Let them now, they are in the seat, let them do it, let's see.
I see. But at the end of the day...
Roland, little attention was paid to the actual operational issues in the health sector. Rather, infrastructure, very expensive projects, because they were flashy and fanciful, were being done. Government of Ghana
You're saying that the Ridge Hospital is not
Government
nice.
of Ghana support to the health sector has drastically reduced over the years. It was 36% in 2016, and a chunk of that money was used to pay salaries. Monies that should be used to do the real work, purchase of vaccines, goods and services. If you don't have IGF, you can't do anything. So it is only those institutions that are able to generate IGF that are able to survive. But the directorates, the ministry, they don't generate IGF, but they need money to purchase things like the vaccines, the child welfare records, the maternal records, the antenatal custody. These are the things that will actually enhance our health. We kept emphasizing on building hospitals, building cheap compounds here and there. You need them, but the operation must also move on. So, last year when I spoke, I said they have created a Kwashiorkor health system where we have given only energy foods and give no protein foods to the child. So the child is having a bloated abdomen, with a big head, with a very thin, it's like an egg on stick child, because you gave him one form of food and left the other. You have to give this child protein food, energy food, vitamins. So you shouldn't concentrate on only building, huge edifices that you can easily point to and say, I've done A, B, and C. And you leave the operational issues where they are not tangible, but they are the ones that actually come together to enhance the health of the people. We are now reaping the benefits of all these, gargantuan things that they did. Here we are. We ran out of vaccine because we have deferred payment. If you go to Ghana AIDS Commission, they have they couldn't pay for what they should pay to Global Fund. They are being punished. Malaria control program, TB control, all of them are suffering because few money that we should have paid, counterpart funding, so that it will enable the donors to bring huge funds into the country. We reneged, and they are punishing us. Global Fund, if you don't pay any money, you are punished by 200%. Let's say if you are to pay 50 million, you don't pay 50 million. They will take 200 million or 100 million from your next, payment that they are supposed to give you. And how can you survive if you don't have that amount of money? So let us change our style. We should satisfy all the areas. Don't let us stop everything and concentrate on one area.
By the time you come back,
well, I feel that at a point the politics were too much. You wanted to point to flashy things. When I came in, I have built 10 regional hospitals. I have built 6.
But the regional hospitals are also important, aren't they?
They are. But that shouldn't be your only, the thinking is like, when you came in, have you built any regional hospital? That was the campaign. So now they are forced to try and build, or when the health insurance that should move the system is running down, we now have a funding gap of more than 1 billion Ghana cedis. If you have tackled that, you decided not to think about that until the last moment. You said now when you come in, use all your money to augment it. Please, health is the wealth of the people. So you must always be serious about it.
Well said.
Well,
very well.
Just as I mentioned, Roland, they are in the seat now. Tomorrow, the Minister of Finance will present his budget, and some of the issues that they want to address will be seen in the budget. So we are waiting for the budget for them to address the issue.
Dr. Nyama has gotten all emotional about health. He's a medical doctor, so
no,
I said
that hopefully by next week or next month,
we should hear his name.
Yeah, and he'll
Deputy Finance Minister designate.
No, Deputy Minister of Health.
Oh,
yeah,
Deputy Health Minister designate.
Yeah.
Roland,
okay, let's not comment about it. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that what is needed immediately would be for the immunization purposes.
Yes. Seriously,
have you drawn the attention of the health minister?
Yes, I think during the transition period, I was fortunate to be part of the team, and it came up. One of the things was to let the technocrats give us a list of issues that if we do not tackle during this, so-called honeymoon phase, could give us some problems.
The 3-month period,
yes.
the 90-day, 100-day period.
Yes, and one of the main issues was our payment to Gavi to ensure that these vaccines come in. But today is 1st of March, so it's still a problem. There are.
Has the health minister promised you, since you worked with him in the transition period, that this thing will be resolved? We are supposed to ask questions. So
I think there is the
hope.
He has the will to succeed, to do what he's supposed to do. But obviously, there are funding challenges. We have to be very realistic. But I believe the right thing will be done. But I want all of us
because of our states, the lower middle income status, most of the things that we used to get, the grant, etc., and for many of the things that we used, I remember for the free maternal health policy, for example. We had the initial funding, is it from the Dutch government?
From the UK.
From the UK.
Yeah.
Then we had to get some money also from the Dutch government later, and all that. At the end of the day, we're still not going to get many of the things free.
Yes, now we know even most of our loans are no more these grants. You have to take
the components of the grants are not there.
Obviously, that is where you must also prove that you've really come of age. You can't do it in a day, but there should be that determination. That is why it's like they challenge you, provide this amount. Then there's this nice policy, the Dutch government, TB. They are moving into providing digital X-rays machines. The Dutch government promised that they were going to provide $8 million. So the Ghana government have to get a kind of funding. The government went for a loan of $80 million, and they have been able to deploy a lot of digital X-ray machines, which is helping us to diagnose TB. Because now things are getting better.
For the loan.
Yes. Okay. So sometimes some of these things they challenge.
But I thought you said that they were not taking care of operational issues.
But
I mean seriously, these are some of the things that
even TB. There's huge problem there. We had a meeting with them yesterday, and the issues are many. So we are hoping that all of them will be resolved. They can be resolved, at once. But once you have the will and you are doing it one after the other, obviously. You give yourself some time to reason and you will get there. But some of the issues are really, really difficult, and it's unfortunate that we have to allow ourselves to be boxed.
But it's also good that because you're a health, you're a health person, you're a medical doctor, you better understand many of the issues. But let's look at one more thing. We have over 5 minutes. There's a report being speculated in the media, also written, attributed to the Member of Parliament for North Tong, who is already thinking about the 2020 elections for your party. And he says the best bet for your party is John Dramani Mahama, the former president. You want to make some diplomatic comment on this before we move?
Oh, no, I think it's too early in the day to think about who is going to lead the party now. All we have to do, as we have the Constitutional Committee going around to find out why we've lost, even though we all know why we've lost, at least let's get a fact from the ground and let's reorganize the party. Let's get the grassroots of the party working before we can think of who should lead the party. For me, that's a personal observation. It's too early for anybody to start looking for a seat because we've just come out of election. I have not even healed my wounds yet. I'm still licking my wounds. I find myself sitting at the opposing side. He will tell you that these days I don't even talk in parliament because I can't believe that we have suddenly moved from the right side of the speaker to the left side of the speaker. So it's too early in the day. Let's sit down and reorganize the party, and then we can look forward.
I told you it to be a diplomatic talk.
Roland, I thought I wanted to maybe borrow take the advice of the former president to mind my own business. But I don't know. I think, is it the same? Is it John Mahama, the dead goat, or is going to be a new John Mahama? Because, I mean,
That's mischief.
As for a dead goat, I think he should be allowed to rest. And it's too early, as he said. You know, I mean, you've lost. It's always difficult to lose an election that maybe you never thought you were going to lose. Like it happened to us in 2008. So I am not really surprised that they are going through. It's like they are just going through some of the difficulties we went through. That is why I feel that they should rather calm down and leave some of the government issues, that at least they will mellow a bit, lick their wounds.
And do a lot more introspection.
Seriously, so that at least they can mold themselves into a better opposition to prepare themselves maybe to come back to power one day. It's like they are still, I don't know whether to say they are still dazed by the level of the tsunami that hit them. So
how many seats did you lose?
It's not easy.
Over 40 plus. But you see, that's not the issue. The issue is that.
So what's your strength in Parliament now?
We are 106 and they are 169.
What ratio is that?
We are virtually
about 60,
finishing them.
60-40%.
We want to box them to a small corner in the chamber so that they will remain there.
So the next election, you want them to be about 40?
Oh no, 40 will be too small. It may give us a de facto one-party state. We don't want it like that. But at least if we move from 169 to about 180,
we have seen all this
to about 180,
okay.
that will be okay.
That's balanced.
Yes, at least they will still have some mouth to talk.
You see, nature or God knows that we can have one-party state and we cannot have the three-quarter that they are looking for. Otherwise, they'll change you into a woman.
But you also need to work hard.
Of course.
That's the underlying current.
Of course, we all need to work hard. Ghanaians, I believe people are now waking up from
because your constituents are not happy with it. I'm talking about the party constituents.
Exactly. Not only us, everybody, even those that voted for them are still, they're not happy. They just
where did you get that one from? That those who voted for them?
Oh, it's all over. I mean, the dumsor has come back. They've increased fuel more
Emmanuel
than 2 times.
Bedra is a member of Parliament for Whole West, and Dr. Kwabena Chum-Nyama is a member of Parliament for Brekumis. The two of you, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Roland.
Okay. We're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have a lot more to discuss. We're talking human rights, and Mama Bi Usobwaji will be around here.